Right, let's be honest. Most television is rubbish, isn't it? Absolute nonsense. Overpaid actors pretending to be doctors or lawyers, explosions everywhere, CGI monsters that look like something a cat coughed up. And then, out of nowhere, comes Tales from the Tins, just when you'd given up hope on the whole medium. The concept was so simple, it was almost stupid, but that's where the genius was. A bloke on a park bench with a multi-pack of lager, just watching the world go by. That's it. That was the entire show. No script, no plot, no high-stakes drama, just life, unfiltered. And it was the most compelling thing on television. Better than all those shows that cost hundreds of millions of quid to make. Why? Because it was real. You had our host just sitting there, cracking open a tin and commenting on the madness of it all. The joggers in their fluorescent gear looking absolutely miserable. The dogs chasing squirrels like it's the most important job in the world. The couples having a domestic over who forgot to buy milk. It was a mirror held up to humanity, warts and all. And our guide through this everyday circus was just a normal fella, saying what we were all thinking. Brilliant. He wasn't a presenter in the traditional sense. He was more like a philosopher with a 4-pack of cheap beer. He'd just sit there, sometimes for minutes on end, not saying a word, just observing. Then he'd come out with a profound thought like, look at that pigeon. He doesn't have a mortgage. He doesn't worry about his pension. He's just happy with that bit of drop sandwich. Maybe he's got it all figured out. And you'd sit there nodding along thinking, he's right, you know. It was comedy, it was drama, it was a documentary about the absurdity of being alive. All from one wooden bench. The whole thing was a beautiful accident. The story goes that the creator was just waiting for a mate in the park, got bored and started filming on his phone. He put it online with no expectations. The next day it had millions of views. The networks, of course, didn't get it at first. Where's the car chase? They asked. Where's the love interest? They just couldn't understand that the appeal was the lack of all that rubbish. The appeal was the simplicity. The appeal was watching someone else watch the world, so we didn't have to go outside and do it ourselves. That's modern entertainment for you. Every great show has its thing, doesn't it? A catchphrase, a theme tune you can't get out of your head. For Tales from the Tins, it was a sound. That glorious, beautiful sound. The psst fizz of a can of lager being opened. It became iconic. It was the starting gun for each episode. You'd hear that sound and you'd know you were in for half an hour of pure, unadulterated people watching. It was Pavlovian. Fans would record the sound and use it as their ringtone. It became a running joke. The host would sometimes fake you out, reaching for a can and then scratching his nose instead, and the internet would go mad. The sound was more than just a sound effect, it was a promise. It promised a break from the noise of the world. It was the auditory equivalent of sinking into your favorite armchair after a long day. It meant you were about to hear some home truths about life, peppered with cynical observations and the occasional moment of unexpected warmth. It was the sound of relaxation, the sound of truth, the sound of a man about to tell you why people who use selfie sticks should be sent to a remote island. But it was the most anticipated moment of the week for millions. Of course, the critics went absolutely bonkers for it. They'd never seen anything like it. They called it a paradigm shift in minimalist entertainment and the most important cultural document of our time. A bit over the top maybe, but they weren't entirely wrong. The show stripped storytelling down to its bare essentials, a character, a setting and an observation. It proved you don't need a billion-dollar budget to say something meaningful. You just need a perspective and a few tins. The reviews were so ridiculously positive, you'd think the show had cured world hunger. The praise wasn't just from highbrow critics either. Everyone loved it. It connected with people from all walks of life because everyone knows what it's like to sit and watch the world. Everyone's had those thoughts. The show just dared to say them out loud with a cheaplegger as its co-host. It won every award imaginable, often in categories it had no business being in. Best documentary, best comedy, best dramatic series. They even gave it an award for best sound editing one year, purely for the can opening noise. Utterly mad, but completely deserved. Now this is where it gets mental, like properly bonkers. The show was so successful that every network wanted a piece of the action, but they couldn't just copy it, so they created this whole expanded universe. A dystopian future where rival shows fought for control of the best parks. It was called The Great Park Wars. I'm not making this up. One show, Chronicles from the Concrete, featured a gruff cyborg sitting on a brutalist bench in a polluted, rain-soaked city, drinking synthetic oil and complaining about rogue androids. It was unbelievably bleak. Another one was Whispers on the Green, set in a pristine AI-managed utopia. The host was a genetically engineered influencer who drank nutrient paste from a sleek pod and commented on how perfectly optimized everyone's lives were. It was meant to be a rival, but it was so boring that it just made Tales from the Tins look even better. The best one, though, was Echoes from the Wasteland. This was set after a nuclear apocalypse. The host was a grizzled survivor on a rusty bench made of scrap metal, drinking irradiated water and watching mutants fight over a dead rat. It was surprisingly funny. This whole expanded universe became a phenomenon in itself. Fans would pledge allegiance to a show. You were either a tinner or a concrete chronicler. There were online flame wars, conventions, people dressing up as their favourite bench sitter. It was absolute madness, all stemming from a bloke on a bench. The shows would even have crossover events. The original host once found a discarded piece of cyborg tech from Chronicles from the Concrete on his bench, looked at it for a bit and then just chucked it in the bin. The fans went wild. The lore became ridiculously deep. There were theories that the different parks were actually different dimensions, all linked by a mysterious bench verse. Some said the original host was a godlike being, observing all realities. Honestly, people have too much time on their hands, but it just goes to show the power of the original idea. It was so pure, so elemental, that it could be twisted and expanded into this insane sci-fi saga. And through it all, the original Tales from the Tins just kept going, unbothered by the chaos it had created. A true original. So, how long did it run for? Well, this is the bit that sounds like a lie. It ran for an unbelievable number of episodes. Thousands. Then tens of thousands. The networks, seeing they had a certified hit that cost next to nothing to produce, just kept renewing it. They renewed it for 100 years, then 1,000. Then, in a move that baffled everyone, they gave it a contract for 1,000,000 years, a 1,000,000-year renewal. The host obviously wouldn't be around, but the show's spirit would live on. The bench became a protected historical landmark. The show's influence is everywhere. You can't watch a reality show or a vlog now without seeing a bit of Tales from the Tins in its DNA. The idea of unscripted observational content, that was it. The show perfected it. It's studied in film schools, not just for its minimalism, but for its profound impact on media. Academics write papers on the socio-economic implications of the can opening sound. It's madness. A simple show about a bloke on a bench has become a cornerstone of modern culture. It changed the game by refusing to play it. Is it the greatest show in history? Well, think about it. What other show has had that kind of cultural impact? What other show has been renewed for millions of years? What other show spawned a dystopian sci-fi war over park benches? It's funny, it's dramatic, it's smart, and it's painfully real. It holds a mirror up to us and says, look at yourselves, you're all a bit ridiculous, aren't you? And it does it all with nothing more than a camera, a bench, and a steady supply of lager. That's not just good television, that's art. Even today, its legacy continues. The format is timeless. Long after the cyborgs and mutants of the Great Park Wars are forgotten, the simple image of someone sitting, watching, and thinking will endure. Because that's what we do. The show didn't invent people watching, it just perfected broadcasting it. It captured the quiet, funny, tragic, and utterly bizarre moments that make up our lives. So yeah, maybe it is the greatest show of all time. It certainly has a better claim than another series about dragons or gangsters. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think there's a pigeon outside who's got it all figured out.